That's right.
He's one of those guys that know, like, kid, I really think he knows everything. I don't think I can. He's recently, for us, he sells like food to and stuff. Don't ask me, I just pull it. Casey's email.
I love it. Oh, yes. All about it.
You logged in, Mike?
I'll do what they usually do.
Underscore. MCS,
Looks like
K-12.
your email address looking in and out below. Shoot, they knew.
At MCS dot K-12, you got a dot in there, you can take your phone number.
I've got one account.
Oh, you're at the other account, okay.
Well, no, I'm not having an account. I just want to get to the one here.
Did you read it? Huh? Did you read it? There's probably a lot of people who like this picture.
Well, I got a Purdue one. Yeah, I mean,
His computer.
Great, I'd like to go ahead and call the Manchester Community School Board of Trustees to order. Welcome, everyone. Will you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. The roll call, all are present except for Mr. Flack. And you can see the emergency edition of the Strong Start Community Grant. Are there any other additions or deletions to the?
I have some questions about the digital learning coach. I'd like to remove those four so we can talk about them separately.
Okay.
Remove them from the consent agenda. We can leave them on the agenda, just separate them.
So I'm going to separate, it looks like we're going to separate 4.5.1.3 through 4.5.1.6, is that correct?
Yep.
So you're just asking that those be as a separate consent item?
Yeah, just a separate agenda item for discussion, yeah.
So we're moving them from approval or from consent to discussion?
Yes.
Is that okay with everybody? You want to move that from approving those for employment to a discussion item?
Would that be maybe to recommendations for approval, and we can discuss it under that? That'd be more appropriate.
To move it to recommendations for approval, is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, everybody needs to talk into their mics.
Yeah.
Because Missy can't get the recording. Thank you. That was a nice whisper. Is it okay to move those to recommendations for approval, Mr. France? Yep. Thank you. Okay. Any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Great. Thank you. All right, then, recognition. We'd like to recognize Science Olympiad accomplishments.
It's a group now.
The-
Yep.
Check, check. So this is a group that keeps making some headlines annually, but specifically just the last couple weeks. So I asked a coach, Andrew Chinworth, to come in and talk a little bit about some of their accomplishments and maybe touch base on how the kids did. And I know that we have a team going to state, so I'll turn that over to you.
I wrote a few things down. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Andrew Chinworth, and I had the distinct honor of stepping into the head coach role of Science Olympiad team following Sue Janaghi's retirement of the program last year. I was a member of one of her first Science Olympiad teams here at Manchester when Sue brought the program some 17 odd years ago. And coming back to it 14 years later, I've been very impressed with how strong it's gotten. For those of you that don't know much about Science Olympiad, each of these teams, the C team and the B team, high school and junior high, is comprised of 15 students that compete in 23 different events. Events range from subjects like anatomy and physiology, forensics, water quality, plane building, map reading, genetics, etc. The fact that these students want to come in every day after school and work on these types of events is a testament to their character and a testament to the quality of the program that Sue built over her time as its leader. Our specific accomplishments this year so far are many. At our first invitational held here at Manchester University, our middle school team, or Division B team, took second out of 8 teams. Our high school team, Division C, took third out of 20. At the Northridge Invitational, our B team placed third out of 14, and our C team was 7th out of 27 extremely competitive teams. At our regional tournament this past weekend, the B team once again captured first place for, I think, the 10th year in a row. Is that right? And as far as I could tell, for the first time, medaled in every single event, all 23, which is pretty impressive. The C team faced what I reason to be the most competitive regional tournament in the state of Indiana. There are huge schools that often go to nationals, or at least come close to going to nationals every year in our regional, and came within 4 points of qualifying for the state tournament, which was an impressive feat. They've never come that close to to beating the school that we needed to beat. Heartbreaking nonetheless, but we were very close and have a lot to be proud of. There are two specific reasons why I think these accomplishments are uniquely impressive. First, we consistently, like I said, go up against schools that are 5, 6, or even 7 times our size, private schools that maybe only have a Science Olympiad team and a couple other extracurricular activities. This year we faced and beaten schools like Avon, Riley, East Noble, Pike High School, and remained competitive against schools like La Lumiere, a private school in South Bend area, and Northridge High School. Second, because we're a small school, many of these students are involved in other extracurricular activities in addition to Science Olympiad. We have wrestlers, swimmers, actors, musicians, cheerleaders, and more that make up our team. And I'm not sure the same can be said for the other teams that we go up against. Many of them can't make it to practice as often as they'd like or have to leave early to get to their other engagements. And while in the heat of the season, I wish they would only choose Science Olympiad, I know that their involvement in these other activities will make them more well-rounded human beings and better prepare them for their time after Manchester Community Schools. We appreciate the recognition from the board and are thankful for the consistent support we receive from parents, teachers, administrators, and the broader community. Anyone involved in the education of these kids has a lot to be proud of. Thanks.
If you guys have questions for them, we can have students step up, or they can just come around, shake hands too. So.
Well, we would love to shake your hand if you would make your way this direction. That'd be awesome.
On the way by, could they introduce themselves?
Absolutely. Great idea. Tell them your grade level also.
That mic can come off there too, I think.
All right. My name is Sam Reichenbach. Some of you might know me. I'm a senior here at Manchester. And as part of I've been in Science Olympiad for a long time. I have 2 things I'd like to say about this program, things that I find unique. For one, I think it's quite unique that you look before you and you see so many different ages. I think that's one thing that's very, my words, awesome about this program, is that you go in there, you get to help out the younger kids, you get to, from their perspective. I remember when I was in their shoes, I learned from the older kids. And I think that's pretty unique for a program at our school. I don't think many programs have the same sort of diversity, to my knowledge. And then also, it's really helped me personally sort of find a career path. I mean, for one, to be in this, obviously you have to have some sort of, you have to like science to some degree, but it's really helped. And I'm sure the others can attest to it. It helps you find out what you really like and things that you might want to do in your future. And so I think that's really important for a program to be in high school. Thank you.
Can you come this way so we can shake your hand?
So we're going to introduce themselves, grade level, and then go ahead and shake their hands.
Just a minute ago, my name is Sam Reichenbach. I'm a senior.
I'm AJ Weaver, and I'm a 6th grader.
I'm Daniel Skindai, and I'm also a 6th grader.
It's just a clan of 6th graders here. I'm Liam Krebsmiller, and I'm also a 6th grader.
I'm Colby Hackle, and I am not in 6th grade. I'm a freshman.
I'm Evan McLaughlin, I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Zane Louvier, and I'm in 8th grade.
I'm Miriam Struble-Hedstrom, and I'm in 8th grade. I'm Lena Borgman, and I'm in 8th grade.
I'm Caleb Smith, and I'm in 8th grade.
I'm Emma Pyle, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Rebecca Pyle, and I'm a senior.
I'm Kayla Hippensteel, I'm a sophomore.
I'm Elise Harder, I'm also a sophomore.
I'm Caleb Sauter, I'm a 7th grader.
I knew if I hung around long enough, I would get a microphone for once. So tell me when we're at an hour, Randy. Now, seriously, one of the things I wanted to add on to what Andrew had to say was that the B team Saturday was even more impressive than what a lot of people know. because half of these kids, 8 of them out of the 15, had never competed at all in Science Olympiad. We have 4 6th graders, 3 7th graders, and an 8th grader who had not been involved with Science Olympiad till this year. And to win as decisively as what we did was very impressive. And though I think Andrew will attest that there's times we didn't think we were getting anything out of them, Saturday just proved us all wrong, which is just fine. So again, what this does for our kids and our students, long past here, many of the kids that have been in Science Olympiad have learned what they want to do. They pursue it. We have people who are pursuing their doctors, engineering. I, for one, had a son who flew the balsa wood airplanes and is now an aeronautical engineer. And so this sets them for life. It really does. So thanks for the recognition, folks.
And then we'd also like to recognize the All-State Choir.
And I think those students are coming right back up here. They were just recognized as Science Olympiad participants. So we'd like Sharon Lehman, our choir teacher, Sam Reichenbach, and Rebecca Pyle to come back up.
Proving that our students really are involved in multiple events and are just really high quality students. I'm Sharon Lehman. I'm the choir director here at Manchester. I also teach 4th grade general music, and I have the honor of recognizing Sam and Rebecca this evening. Sam and Rebecca participated in an event called All-State Honor Choir. The name's pretty self-explanatory. It's students from all over Indiana. It's a choir, and it's an honor event. So the students have to audition for this event. The audition is fairly competitive. The students across the state of Indiana all prepare the same piece. They go in and perform that piece for a judge. And then they also have to sight read, which is sometimes terrifying for the students, but it's a really great indication of their skill level. So they sight read 3 different exercises. And then each area of the state has a certain quota of students they can accept. Our area includes a lot of different schools. Some of the schools that auditioned students this year in our area were South Adams, Bluffton, Wabash, Southwood, Whitco, Wawasee, Manchester, and then Huntington. And then out of those students, only a certain number can be selected. And in my knowledge, in Manchester, we have not had 2 students selected for quite a number of years at least, so that in itself was a great honor. But in particular, these 2 students, out of the 28 that auditioned from this area, Rebecca had the 2nd highest overall score, and Sam was tied for 3rd for the highest overall score for our area, which again is a great indication of their ability. And then what happens is the students from our area meet together for 4 different rehearsals. We work on the songs together. The area directors help teach them the music. And then the students from across the state gather in Indianapolis during the Music Educators Association conference. They have a day of rehearsals with a renowned conductor. The people that are brought in to conduct these events are just high-profile conductors, nationally recognized. And they spend a day and a half rehearsing with the other students from across the state. It's a total of about 250 of the top singers from across the state of Indiana. And then they give a performance in the embassy at Fort Wayne, which is a wonderful place to perform. It's an amazing concert. It's just jaw-dropping when you hear 250 high school students from around the state perform this difficult music. Sam and Rebecca just did an amazing job. I didn't ask them to prepare any comments, but I don't know if there's a highlight experience. If you want to talk, you're welcome to. Favorite song, favorite experience?
It was really just an amazing experience to be like somewhere like that where you meet all these other people who love music like you do.
Yeah, and my own daughter has participated for several years, and that's one of the things that she has said is just to be with that many people who are so passionate about music is just incredible. And then what happens is then these students come back to the choir program and they strengthen the choir program with their energy and their enthusiasm. So I'm just really proud of these 2 and would love for you to congratulate them with me.
We would like to shake your hand as well.
One more time. Again, yes, right. Gotta be acknowledged. Good job. Good job.
You guys aren't gonna sing anything?
No.
No music tonight?
Congratulations.
Those of you that were here for the special recognition, you're welcome to stay, but you're also welcome to leave if you'd like to. And then we have hearing of the patrons. So is there anyone who'd like to make public comment? Okay, then we're going to move on to consent items, and we've pulled 4.5.1.3 through 4.5.1.6, and then everything else will remain as consent items. In the past, our practice is to read the donations because we feel very grateful for those donations. Is there somebody on the board who would like to read through the donations?
Sure, I can do it for you.
Thank you.
Okay, we had an anonymous donation of $300 to the Manchester Community Schools Health and Wellness account. We had a donation of $500 to the same account from another anonymous donor. We had a donation of $18.66 to the Squire Team Production Services Film Club from various donors in cash. A donation of $21 to the boys basketball program from an anonymous donor in cash. A donation of $25 to the Manchester boys basketball program from an anonymous donor in cash. Donation of $200 to the Manchester Junior Senior High School FFA program from an anonymous donor. A donation of $500 to the Manchester Junior Senior High School FFA program from an anonymous donor.
Thank you. So I need a motion and a second for consent items.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
So there's a motion by Mr. Hensley and a second by Mr. Bedke. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. So recommendations for approval. Can we go ahead and put the digital learning coaches there as the first thing we talk about? Is that okay? Okay. So digital learning coaches.
Digital learning coaches.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Teresa, actually it was a text. Could you explain to the board that this is a new position and what it entails, please?
This actually is a position that you have already previously approved, which would have been in the teacher contract for a $400 stipend. We have a representative from each school that will work with Mr. Self, and it was kind of like train the trainer model. He will get the training, he will train them, they will develop plans, and then they will go back into their respective buildings and carry out whatever, I want to say technology learning that we feel or they feel that they need to be able to teach and instruct students with technology. And also their personal use, whatever that may be. So that's what the position's for. And tonight, you're just approving staff in those positions.
Is the training for the teachers or for the students?
The teachers, we're training teachers how to use technology.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. When will they do this? I mean, is this something that will happen on Wednesday mornings?
That's up to their principals of when they integrate that in. Whether it's a collaboration Wednesday or it's after school or during prep periods or whenever they can work that out.
Oh, one other question. The $400, I think it said 434 on the paperwork, Mr. Self.
I just remembered 400.
Yeah. Is that per year? Or was that a prorated amount because we're down to 3.5 months?
And that was per year. But they're gonna have to do some work up front here because they have to develop a plan and things that they won't necessarily have to do in the following year. So they'll be putting some time in here.
Okay, I'd make an emotion to approve it.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. So there's a motion by Mr. Triflinger and a second by Mr. Hensley to approve the digital learning coaches. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Great. The next recommendation for approval is the Policy 3210 Food Service Staff Code of Conduct. It's a second reading. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion for approval.
In a second?
Second.
So motion by Mr. Hensley and a second by Mr. Esposito. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. The next recommendation for approval is Policy 6230, Internal Controls, which is a second reading. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Hensley and a second by Mr. Bedke. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Policy 6240, Federal Grants and Awards Administration, second reading. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. In a second?
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Hensley and a second by Mr. Esposito. Is there any discussion?
I think there is a little follow-up we'll probably do in the policy committee on other grants, but this one's specific to federal grants and the reporting, so that'll be a later discussion, just so everybody knows. So.
Great. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. 5.4, a recommendation for approval of a leave request.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Hensley. Is there a second? And a second by Mr. Triflinger. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Madam President, can we make a note to take a look at that policy?
Which policy?
I don't think there's a policy, there's just a past precedent that we put them on the board agendas, but we can certainly take them off.
Yeah.
If you're okay, it can just be a superintendent approval and we don't have to put it on there, so that's up to you.
It was an unpaid leave day and the guy's name's up there and I don't think we need to approve that. I mean, that's, superintendent can do that. I mean, it's not like they're asking for 3 weeks paid leave or something. That'd be a little different.
Did you say there is a policy currently on that?
There is not a policy, in fact, we're gonna be looking at it during discussions in the fall, but we, at this point, do not have a policy of whether it goes on an agenda or not. It's just been past precedent in the school corporation, so that's what we continued with. But we can certainly pull it off.
I think.
I personally think it's more of a personnel thing.
Yes,
It needs to
I
be
would
pulled
agree.
off. Okay, we will certainly do that from this point on.
Thank you.
We're looking for approval to accept the tax anticipation warrant.
Yeah, we received one bid for the tax anticipation warrant of $800,000. That was from Crossroads Bank at 3.25%, which was the same rate that they gave us last year on the same tax anticipation warrant. Last year was for $1 million. This year would be for $800,000, and this would go into our operations fund for cash flow purposes. This would be repaid on December 28th of 2020.
So just seeking your approval for that.
There's a mistake in this paperwork.
Is there a typo?
It was only advertised in the one paper. We said at the organizational meeting, we were gonna advertise in both papers.
It was sent to the News Journal and then their parent company with the paper, so I don't know, that would be between them who advertised it, but it was advertised in our paper legally, the town paper, the News Journal.
Yeah, but didn't we say we were gonna advertise in the paper also?
We can advertise in that. Again, they're tied together, so sometimes they'll put some of those advertisements in the paper and sometimes they won't. So it's kind of a discussion we're gonna have with them to try to get them to advertise in both. Because it's a new practice that they haven't done.
Okay. Because the whole idea of using the paper in addition was so that everybody in the community knew.
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
So are we paying for these ads?
Yes. So it would double the payment probably.
I guess we just, I mean, to cut the conversation, we have to have a discussion with them, and then we want it in both, and we gotta pay them for both probably, is where they're at, so.
Right.
So is there a motion to approve the accept the tax anticipation warrant?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve the tax.
I'll second it.
So there's a motion by Mr. Turflinger and a second by Mr. Hensley. Is there more discussion?
Hey, Jeremy, did we solicit more banks, or we just didn't get responses? Or?
Yeah, last year we only received one response as well, so for whatever reason, they're not interested in helping in that particular area at this time. So.
And the bank has to be in our school district or something, is that right?
Has to be in our district.
Okay.
Right. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. And recommendation for approval 5.6, the approval of Science Olympiad State Overnight Trip to Purdue University on March 21st, 2020. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. A motion by Mr. Esposette and a second by Mr. Shaw. Is there any discussion?
Do we background check chaperones on these trips?
Absolutely. You have to background check every chaperone, and that is actually on the field trip form that you approved earlier in the school year. It might even have been July, so it's all on there as well. So the schools know they have to do that.
All those in favor? Are you in favor? Sorry. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. And the Heartland update, Mr. Turflinger.
Gonna be fairly short. On January 29th, the board took a tour of Heartland Career Center, and we got a little bonus that day. We got to go to the Eagles Theater and see the renovations. They weren't quite done. They were still doing some punch list stuff. We're going to have a classroom that's moving from the Honeywell Center to the Eagles Theater on the second floor for all the multimedia classes through Heartland. So watch the paper. Sometime here in March, they're going to have tours of the building. It's pretty awesome. I'd like to thank all the members of the board that were able to make it. Does the board, anybody that was on the tour, have any questions? Okay. The deadline for the Heartland Career Center We award 9 $1,000 scholarships every year. The Community Foundation goes through all the applicants and decides who the winners are for us. Any Heartland students that haven't applied, you have until March 2nd. If you need further details, you can check out the Community Foundation's website. You can get a hold of Mr. Pete Dupont at Heartland Career Center or Julie Garber at the Community Foundation. And there's nobody here to clap for, but the Heartland Career Center is going to receive a State Award of Excellence for their law enforcement class, and that'll be awarded in Indianapolis on February the 18th. That's it.
Thanks for organizing that tour for us. That
No
was
problem.
nice, a nice
Anytime.
morning.
Anybody that didn't make it, you can get a hold of Mr. Hobbs or myself, and we'll be. One other thing, Mr. Hobbs was quite tickled that the board showed up. He's been there for 20 years, and this is the first time the Manchester Community School Board has ever visited as a group. So I'd like to see us continue that.
Clap for your short presentation.
Yeah. Don't you got a trip to go on?
Okay, a legislative update?
So I'm not gonna get into specifics, but they're kind of rolling through things right now in the short session, and then I'll put a little thing together for some of the things they're looking at. Mark, you probably stay updated too, so they're really weeding out things, and then they'll get, basically what they're looking at now, they'll pass back and forth between, the state chambers and then fish things out. So I'll give a more detailed report next meeting on how everything sorts out, so other than that.
Thank you. Policy 3220, Teacher Appreciation Grant. This is the first reading.
The Teacher Appreciation Grant comes to us each year. This is the exact same policy we have been using. However, it's never been an official policy that you have approved, so we are sending that through. MTA is fine with that. They've already approved it on their end, so we're just sending it back through, so it's an official document in our policies.
Are there questions or comments? Any discussion? We're good? All right. Then there's policy 7020, the chemical management, which is also a first reading.
This policy is on chemical management policy, and this comes to us from ISBA. Again, talking to us about how to take care of chemical inventory, disposal, should we have an accident with chemicals, who the contacts are, and that's what this policy explains. Much of this policy we are currently doing and have done in coordination with Jay Foley, our Assistant Director of Maintenance, who kind of heads up this part of it. And again, you can read through that policy, and if you have questions or comments, feel free to direct those to us before the next board meeting, and we can look at any changes to that.
One quick question, Jeremy, is we have people trained here in hazmat and some of the OSHA stuff for chemical spills. And then does this list, I guess I haven't read it yet, but does it list, kind of missed the policy meeting, but we have an inventory of the chemicals we have on hand?
Yeah.
We have to, right?
Yeah, Jay keeps that. We have those available at each building office and in the kitchens. Again, it's one of those things where you have to check that annually and keep it updated. We would prefer to obviously do that monthly and keep it updated so you're ahead of it. And those are things that I've been in contact with Jay about to make sure that we're on top of that and doing a better job of dotting our I's and crossing our T's with those chemicals.
Awesome, thank you.
For the board's information, I sent Teresa and Jeremy some information today. There's some online MSD. Part of this policy says keep an MSD sheets. That can turn into quite a daunting task, and if you get inspected and you have a chemical on site and you don't have that, where if you pay for subscription service, you virtually have every chemical in the world, the MSD sheet right here on your phone in the event of a spill or someone gets it splashed in their eyes, you can go right on your phone and, you know, the MSD sheet, for those of you that don't know, it, you know, emergency, put water on it in case of fire, don't put water on it, you know, it covers all of that stuff. So I dug up some stuff and sent it to Jeremy today, so maybe before this comes back, we can take a look at, if it's not too expensive, you know. I mean, the amount of time it takes, I've had to keep those books, and the amount of time it takes to keep them current, we might be better off in the long run than just doing it online, and you cover everything in one fell swoop. The other thing I would mention, I didn't see anything in there about keeping a spill kit on site. In the event that you have, you know, a gallon of something, or 2 gallons of this, you know, floor stripper, whatever it is, if you have one of those kits on site, you can stop an accident from turning into an event pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's a HAZ Walker comment, so somebody's got to be trained to use it, right? So that's federal legislation, right to know, so.
Yep.
Anything else, or policy committee, you're good? All right. Then we're at the end of the meeting, hearing of patrons. If there's any public comment, please state your name at the mic.
Kevin Clayton. I first want to thank Dr. Libby and Dr. Mo. A few weeks ago, they came to my son Micah's National Wheelchair Basketball Tournament in Fort Wayne. They came out, and I hope that they learned a lot. Being around kids with disabilities, especially ones that are in wheelchairs, watching them play basketball, playing the same sport that all of us love, but them having an opportunity to do that sport means a lot to these kids. And seeing new people come out and watch the kids play and see things they can do in their chairs, it illuminates you. So I want to thank both of them for coming out, especially on Super Squatter Saturday, where they had lots of places to go, lots of events going on. They came out, and even though Mike is on a varsity sport, it was important for him to see people from Manchester come for those events. So I do appreciate that for that. The other thing I want to talk about, going with my son being disabled. Normally when I come in front of the board, it's not always the best situation to have. I do want to applaud the board and Dr. DeMoe. I'm looking at ways of making our bathrooms more ADA friendly. Having a son who 99% of the time is in prosthetics. He is in his wheelchair every once in a while, but he's having issues with his legs, with his prosthetics. It's not easy for him to find a bathroom that he can go to at the high school, because a lot of students don't understand that the bigger bathrooms are for people with disabilities first, not just for them to have more room to use the restroom. With his prosthetics, he is very shy sometimes about using the restroom, and so I think if we had more restrooms in the school system where he will have more privacy, that will be very, very important for him and our students should like it. I want to tell you a story, and for most of you that know Micah, he will not tell you anything that's going on. He's fallen 4 different times on our school property, going from the high school to junior high and back. He cannot feel his legs when there's ice on the ground, when there's snow on the ground, when the pavement's wet. So when it comes to him walking back and forth, he has broken his prosthetic leg, where he's actually cracked the part that connects the leg to his actual foot. which that cost us $40,000, and had to get repaired. And so he's also cracked his kneecap, he's fractured his kneecap one time from going back and forth. And there's been other times where he's injured his legs that have required surgery. All 4 times, we've either had to replace his prosthetic leg and or had surgery or some kind of doctor intervention. In that time, I have never once came to the board, to the superintendent, and said, you guys are responsible for taking care of his medical bills. As a parent with a student with a disability, I look at that as my responsibility. That should not be on the taxpayer, it should not be on the people of this community to take care of my son's medical bills. I know we have the insurance for it, but I do not believe that that is part of your responsibility or the taxpayer's responsibility. With that being said, I would never ask the community to invest money into new bathrooms just for my one child. I tell my son all the time, do the best you can do. Don't require more of the staff at the high school to help you, including Mrs. Vogel, who has done a lot to help him in special ed. IMG Knight has helped him out quite a bit in transportation, special needs bus or whatever she needs to do. I'm just going to ask everybody in the community that there are people who need extra help, but also with that, me as a parent, who there's not very many disabled children in this school, I would not require this school system to come out and spend more money, whether $1, $1 million, or $2 million, to upgrade any facility in this school system. And this is coming from a parent who has a student with an IEP, as well as community member and taxpayer. And I am talking to you today as a parent of a student with an IEP and a taxpayer as a student. I want to ask that over the last month, a lot of things have happened in this community. A lot of things have cluttered up, a lot of attitudes, a lot of differences and opinions. I'm going to ask, just like I've done for my son in the school system, let's reach a happy medium to where our community does not have to spend millions of dollars to add more to our tax base. I applaud you guys for reaching out to the community and saying we want to do this upgrade for ADA, but as well as the situation that's happening. But I would also ask families in this community who, whether you just have families with disabilities or anything else, one family, 5 families should not make this community spend millions of dollars.
Superintendent comments?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for inviting us to Micah's game. It was very, very interesting. I did learn a lot there. So, just want to talk about it really quick with the board that we have the work session coming up in 2 weeks from today, and we will not have any more information regarding restroom renovations at that time. So, we, Mrs. Ayers and I have been talking about one of our board members, Mr. Hensley, has some special talents and skills that he has offered to utilize and to teach us some things. And so we're going to let you kind of tell us a little bit of your ideas of what you were talking about training, and let the board choose of what they want to do or where they would like to go at with that. Would that be okay with you,
Sure.
Mr. Hensley? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, but I think, as we run into things, so kind of tying into what, like Heartland, so this will be the 3rd year I'm running it's called Lean Six Sigma, and that's, I kind of work with
you,
600
Mr.
and
Hensley?
some,
Okay, thank you.
600 and some different organizations in all kinds of industries, including education. And I think, is this, this is like 2.5 months we've been kind of going through things, and I've said my clip the last time, like, but there's, so this last class of 20 kids, it's basically, I want to really, it's advanced problem solving in a way, but a problem's a problem until you identify it, and then I think it's an opportunity. And so there's simple tools to teach these kids, and like this project, we'll be going into, I won't name them yet, right, but it's a local manufacturer that's expanding rapidly, and these kids are going to go in and they're going to look, we're going to run 2 projects basically. I'm going to split it into 2 groups of 10 or 9 and 10, and they're going to look at, the new layout, and they're going to help facilitate that. We're also going to look at changeover and some of their quality issues. And so these tools, it's what all other industries use, and they've been around forever. So one of the first things to do, whatever we face, is like put an operational definition of what the heck we're trying to accomplish here. And I think there's got to be an open and frank discussion about, okay, what does everybody want? So framing that up, like I said, some of the things we run into on this board, it kind of makes my head spin, because I sit there and I think, what are we doing, right? What is it we're trying to accomplish? And if anybody knows that, let me know real quick, right? But I think that's the first thing. We call it like operational definition, or some definition to what are we trying to accomplish. And then the other thing I'd like to do is use a little more, it's a simple tool called Ishikawa diagram, or a fishbone. Most of you have probably been exposed to that, but I think as we, we're kind of, in a way, what you don't want to do is like jump to cause and jump to solution. I think in everything we face, like everybody's ready to jump solution, and when you jump to solution, you start doing things, right? And that's kind of why I was upset a little bit the last time we talked about this, because we're making changes, a few changes to the school that kind of Ben talked about. So what we need to do, I know it's hard to be patient, right? But what we need to do is be patient. We need to vet this, right, from every angle. And so I kind of feel like we're plunging into this, and what I'd like to do in that working session is, number one, say, okay, what is it we're really trying to accomplish here from everybody's aspect, right? Because at some point we got to talk about this. The other thing is, let's look at every angle of this to make sure whatever solution we put in place covers it. Because one thing, that I'm never going to vote for is spending a bunch of money, and then all of a sudden we figure out, whoops. And so some of the comments that I made last meeting, I believe when I work with the industry, any industry, we don't carte blanche spend $5 million on anything, or $2 million, or $1 million. First, you pilot your solution to understand if that solution is going to be effective. And that's what, hopefully that's what we could look at and do this. So I think, a couple simple tools of just putting definition to exactly what we're trying to accomplish, and then getting the voice not only of this board administration, but the public, right? I think it's got to be two-way communication here. I just feel like we're in a point, I don't know what we've been doing the last couple of months, right? We've had meetings and we've listened, and now I think we're at a point, like I said, last meeting is, we got to sit down and really talk about this and come up with an amicable solution to this, and it's not, in the most cost-effective solution, because the people I talk to, that's a lot of money, and I believe that money, and on the ADA thing, I see that out there, right? And that's why I questioned, how is it that we only have one stall for handicap? How is that, right? And I'm used to education where we make reasonable accommodations and things like that. So I want to just have a brainstorming session where everybody gets input, and you can use different categories basically on there. But I think, as we've had those discussions, I don't think we're at a solution yet, right? And I think we have to have some just open discussions and brainstorm a little bit about what's going on this, and not jump into one solution, jumping the gun towards one solution before we really kind of talk this thing out and kind of understand, what's going on. So, and that's not only for current condition, that's everything we face. And you know what? I've lived in this town 54 years, and it hasn't been just the last few months, right? That this town, like we're a freaking strong community if we act like that. And I think part of the problem is anytime communication breaks down between parties, then perception rules the game, and usually negative perception rules the game. And I don't really, be honest, I don't know what's been said to who, from my standpoint on this board, to be honest with you. But I know one thing is, the way to reach the ultimate solution is to communicate, and then put our minds together and really brainstorm toward what we need what is it we're trying to accomplish, and then how we're gonna accomplish that in the best fashion, the most permanent fashion, and the least cost fashion. So that's really what I wanna talk about there, you know, and it's just some simple tools, so. There's other things, you know, to me, you know, I've talked to Trace a little bit, I don't understand why, you know, I'd love for this to be the first school corporation to really embrace those skill sets and look at continuous improvement in the manner that all other industries do. It seems like, you know, everybody's got their own, you got your own words, what's it, Dr. Muhammad, right? I think what he's talking about is basically the same thing, you know, Sue Janegi and I were talking a little bit about it, is the same thing, it's just different terminology that we use. So there's processes out here to use to solve this versus all this conflict and what's going on in our community. To me, it's I'm gonna be honest with you, it's ridiculous, you know, is this the way, you know, look at the kids looking at us as adults, is that the way we want them to behave? You know, my hope is that they're a lot better leaders than we are, because they're, you know, you look at what's going on in America, you know, it's almost like we're addicted to conflict. So I think there's processes to use to kind of get to a solution that besides, I think right now we're almost jumping the gun to things of what we have to do besides having that conversation. So there's my 2 cents, so.
On that meeting, I had a conflict that's been resolved, and these 2 gentlemen both got kids that have an event that night. Can we move it back to the 24th?
No, I think as long as we keep it.
That's entirely up to all of you.
Why don't we keep it to an hour and a half, 2 hours?
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
Well, I mean, he's leading it. He
Yeah, it's
knows that he's
gonna
going-
be straight and to the point, we're just gonna do the tools, so, you know, I think when we lose time is when we start disagreeing and.
Are you not available the 24th?
Yeah, we moved it to the 25th though, I think, last meeting.
Because I had a conflict. I resolved that conflict so we can move it back to the 24th, so it's not on Tuesday night when your kids are playing. If you would like to do that, I'm fine with it.
We
have to
actually agreed
repost
on the
it, right?
24th, the last board meeting, because I remember you proposed the 25th because we moved it to the 25th.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about the 24th and everybody said they wanted consistency. So we moved it to the 25th because of that.
Let's just leave it. Because have
Okay.
you already posted it?
I don't think so, not yet.
Oh.
Your choice.
What do you wanna do, Bryce? When are you available? What's best for you?
Well, my kid's conflict starts at 6, so I'd rather have it on the 24th.
24th? I'm good with that too, so.
Okay, if you want on the 25th, we'll move it on the 25th. 24th, I'm sorry. I keep saying the wrong thing, my apologies. 6 PM, correct?
On the 24th, yep.
Okay.
Short and sweet.
All right, anything else, Mike, on that? You're good? Okay, the other thing is, Mr. Self, you can make your way up there, or, there you go. While he's getting ready, I just want to thank all those people that donated. Once again, appreciate their donations. Mr. Self is going to show our new board policy on our website, and has worked really hard on this. Mrs. Walt has worked really hard on this. Just want to recognize both of them for all their hard work that they put into this, and apologize it's taken us a while to get to this point, but hopefully you'll understand why once you see it. So go ahead.
I was going to say, Missy did a lot of the work, putting everything, getting all the policies cleaned up and what they need to be in. This is the corporation website. If you go to the school board link, down here is all the information about the school board. What we've done is we've done 2 new things. We've got a policy, school board policy, and administrative guidelines. In the past, the policy was one giant PDF document. Anytime we made a change, we had to recreate the PDF document, re-upload it. You couldn't search it. You had to create a new index area. So what I did is I took that policy and turned it into basically its own standalone website. It's on different categories, and once again, this is the board policy. The administrative guidelines looks just the same, but if you are interested, find what the main topic is, click on that as a pull-down menu. You have all the different policies listed. When you click on the policy, then it basically opens that policy, so you can search through them. Should open the policy. Yeah. The reason we do this is we can then edit individual policies without going through the whole process. Now I lost my too many things open, so I can then go back to the policy and whatever policy I want to look at. Just once again, nothing has changed as far as what the policy says. All of these, when we get them, when we finish the clean out with them, they all list when the policy was adopted and then when any revisions to that policy were made. So you have any questions about this? Just a quicker way to look and find the policy.
Open to the public, right?
It's open to the public, it's on the corporation website. So if anybody can go in there, they can find it, they can, obviously they can't, we can edit them when you make a change, we can edit those policies, but rather than reading a 70-some page document to find what you want. Yeah.
Is there any way to search through all the policies if you're looking for a word, or would you have to go into each one and?
You'd have to go into each one there.
Okay.
I will, that's something I would be looking for. Is there a way to make the document itself searchable for work? This piece of it is actually just a Google site. It's easier to work in than what trying to build it out of our final sites. It's easier to build in something like this. So I will check and see it, because I know what it would be nice if you just had a search bar at the top, typed in the word you wanted, and you go through and find it.
Right, or maybe just pull up a list of those policies or something that have that word in it.
Usually you can find just by reading here, if you're dealing with something involving students, you can click on that and, you can probably find the area you're looking for pretty closely. Other questions?
Thank you for doing that. It's probably a lot of work, but it makes it much easier.
The work was on her part, because she had to get all the policies separated, each put in their own document, each named, and then all I did is went through a link to them. So she's the one who got, and I think she got them all right, but like 2, and we found those pretty quickly. So I thought having 2 was not bad at all for that many.
Thank you,
Kudos to Missy, yeah.
School board comments?
Are we going to set up an executive session to review security? The protocols, I brought it up at the board work session.
Right, I wasn't sure if you wanted to do that at this point, with all the work sessions. It's up to you guys. Do you want to do one in, because March, you're gonna also have the strategic plans coming through.
Maybe we should wait till after that strategic plan. That would be my suggestion.
We can look at April. Do you want to just wait till March till we have the plans and then decide? Because then you'll know what your calendars are probably a little bit better, so. Okay. All right, thank you.
Then we're adjourned. Thank you.
How do you log out of here? I can't even figure it out. How do you get logged out of here? I thought there was a way to do it on here.
Not up there, huh?